Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for yet another emergency news video. This time coming from the world of Ferrari. Now this had been heavily rumoured throughout today, but it has finally been confirmed by the team. Shocking stuff, shocking news that Oliver Bearman will participate in 6 free practice sessions over the course of the season. I saw this at the start of the day and thought, that's far too many sessions. But he's going to do it. 6 sessions in the Haas. Incredible stuff. Oh, also, Lewis Hamilton has left Mercedes and will drive with Ferrari in 2025. What? Yes, so basically, if you've been living under a rock all day, this will be brand new information for you. I've gone with the red lights here to demonstrate the red of Ferrari, but also emergency news. This was a rumour this morning. I woke up around about 7 or 8 o'clock. Sorry for my phone going off there, but, it's hot business time. So, when I see the rumour, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton is joining Ferrari. And I go, yeah, of course he is. Because every year there are the rumours of Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari. I think I even spoke about it multiple times last year in the build-up to the Monaco Grand Prix. There was the rumours of Lewis Hamilton driving for Ferrari. And then a few hours later, it changed. And people were like, no, seriously, Lewis Hamilton is going to drive for Ferrari. And it turns out it's true. It's finally just been confirmed now, 7 o'clock here UK time, that Lewis Hamilton will leave Mercedes. A statement has been put out by Mercedes. This is the first time I'm seeing this as you're seeing this. I realise that light's very bright. I'm very white on the screen here. I'm not this white in real life. If I turn that off, does that change it? No, that's a bit better. There we go. So, lighting issue fixed. I'm reading this statement as you're seeing it here. So, Mercedes, AMG, Petronas F1 team and Lewis Hamilton are to part ways. At the end of the 2024 season, Lewis has activated a release option in his contract announced last August, and this season will therefore be his last driving for the Silver Arrows. The news brings an end to what is currently a 17-year-long relationship in F1 with Mercedes-Benz and an 11-year-long partnership with the Works team. Toto Wolff commented saying, in terms of team driver pairings, our relationship with Lewis has become the most successful the sport has ever seen, and that's something we can look back on with pride. Lewis will always be an important part of Mercedes motorsport history. However, we knew our partnership would come to a natural end at some point, and the day has now come. We accept Lewis's decision to seek a fresh challenge, and our opportunities for the future are exciting to contemplate. But for now, we still have a strong season to go, and we're focused on going to deliver some good, strong racing for 2024. Lewis Hamilton also added, I've had an amazing 11 years with the team. I'm so proud of what we've achieved together. Mercedes has been part of my life since I was 13 years old. It's a place where I've grown up, so making the decision to leave was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But the time is right for me to take this step, and I'm excited to be part of a new challenge. I'll be forever grateful to the incredible support of my Mercedes family, especially for Toto for his friendship and leadership, and I'll be finishing on a high together. I'm 100% committed to delivering the best performance I can for the remainder of the season and making my last year with the Silver Arrows one to remember. So a very mutual statement there released from both parties. But I have the feeling that behind the scenes this is less mutual than they'd like to put on. It's been reported that Toto Wolff only found out about this yesterday. Lewis Hamilton has been mulling over this for quite a while. As I said, we spoke about this on lead up to Monaco last year of Ferrari approaching Lewis and having talks. Apparently those talks have continued. And like it said in the statement, he signed a new contract in August. That was, 4 months ago? 5 months ago? So my big question is, what has changed? What has changed between August last year and here we are, the 1st of February this year? What's the difference? Because, he may have been in the simulator for this car, but he hasn't seen it on the track. He doesn't know how this car is really going to go out. But he must see that it's not a championship winner. And I think this is really quite damning of Mercedes for this year and for the future. Because I, like many others, always just kind of thought Lewis Hamilton will end his career at Mercedes. That's what he's even said. I think he said that publicly before. That's what he's going to do. But here we are. He's leaving. So my hypothesis is this. He was promised a car of a certain performance for this season. Mercedes have made it very public this week that Lewis has been in the simulator. I don't think he's liked what he's seen, and he's decided to leave. He signed a 2-year deal in August to go past 2025 with Mercedes, but it turns out there is a get-out clause, and he's activated it almost immediately. This new car has not touched a track yet, and Lewis Hamilton wants out. This also makes you think about the Mercedes 2026 engines. When those new engine regulations are coming in, how are they going to look? Of course, the engine regulations of 2013, or 2014, around then, when the hybrid engines first came in, that was what gave Mercedes the leg up on all the rest of the competition. The reason Mercedes was so dominant for so long wasn't because of any great car design, even though the car was designed very well. The massive advantage they had was that incredible Mercedes engine, and they built upon that. So looking forward to 2026, if Mercedes were going to make that massive leap again, if they were going to make that kind of leap where a new engine comes in and they will dominate over the rest of the pack, Lewis Hamilton would have been told about that as the star driver of Mercedes, as someone who's been part of that team for 11 years. He'd be told, oh yeah, there's something good coming. And if there was something good coming, he wouldn't want to leave. So for me, this points at the Mercedes 2026 engine either isn't spectacular or is just bang average. And that also has negative impacts on the likes of McLaren and Williams, who have now signed multi-year deals to extend their Mercedes engines deals going from there. So this doesn't look good for Mercedes for this year. It doesn't look good for Mercedes for next year. And it does not look good for Mercedes going forward past 2026. But focusing on this year, how does this play out from here? We enter a season knowing that what you could definitely argue the most well-known driver on the grid. I mean, I don't think there's any real argument against it there, that Lewis Hamilton is the most well-known driver on the grid and most famous with the Mercedes team. We know going into testing that this time next year they will not be together. How do Mercedes play this out now? Because I think they have to favour George Russell. They just have to. In every situation, they have to favour George Russell. Because this time next year, he'll be here. Lewis Hamilton will not. So any type of team orders, upgrades, anything like that, they have to give it to Russell first. I don't see them challenging for a title this year. I didn't see them challenging for a title before this news came out. My thought on that is even more definite at this point. So they have to keep George as happy as he can be. He is now the leader of this team. The thing that he's wanted for years, to be the leader of Mercedes, it's happened. He's here now. And what I find even more interesting is a couple of weeks ago, I did a news roundup video, and in that we talked about Toto Wolff's big new 3-year contract. We talked about James Allison signing a big new 3-year contract, and talking about how Mercedes were kind of securing their future for behind the scenes to fight forward throughout the years and take the challenge to Red Bull. And what was most interesting about that is when Toto signed that new 3-year deal, he put out a statement basically saying, I've signed a new 3-year deal because I'm going to be here at Mercedes and I'm going to fight with Lewis Hamilton to win world championships and bring home that 8th world championship for Lewis Hamilton. That was what the statement said. His statement didn't mention George Russell. It didn't mention any other driver associated with Mercedes. It just mentioned Hamilton. This revelation here has blindsided Mercedes. They hadn't got a clue this was going to happen. I think they were very sure that Lewis will be with them for the next 2 years. They had put nothing in place for his replacement, to the point where if Toto had a clue that Lewis was looking elsewhere, that statement would have been a bit different. It would have been Lewis and George, or even just George. I doubt it would have been just George, but it would have been different. To having come out and say, I'm here for 3 years and I'm going to win a title with Lewis Hamilton, they had no clue. Looking to the future now, who replaces Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes? I'm sure down the line I'll do a much bigger video on this, but just Looking at who it could be, the names being thrown around a lot at the minute. Firstly, Alex Albon is a name we see thrown around a lot. Of course, incredibly talented driver. He was in my top 3 drivers of the year last year. Really nice guy, doing really well. Of course, had the bad time in Red Bull, went out of F1 for a year, came back with the Williams team. The Williams team are now affiliated with Mercedes. They have been affiliated for a long time now, even closely affiliated with James Vowles at the helm. So Albon, I think, is definitely a pick to go for. Esteban Ocon has been connected with Toto Wolff for years. Toto Wolff is the one who brought him back into Formula One. He's been part of the Mercedes family for a very long time. So Esteban Ocon is someone you can look at as well. Mick Schumacher, the reserve driver for Mercedes for this year and last year. Of course, he's doing his Alpine WEC stuff at the minute, but they could bring him in. Now, I've heard people talk about Valtteri Bottas coming back to Mercedes. I don't think that one's as likely, but that is a possibility. Knows the team very well. I don't think him and George would be a great pairing. I don't think they get on very well, so I don't think that would work necessarily there. A name I've seen thrown around a lot is Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso, who's wanted a Mercedes engine for years now, for almost a decade, has wanted a Mercedes engine. He's finally got one within the Aston Martin, although they will be moving to Honda. Will Fernando Alonso make one more team move in his career? Could he be at Mercedes? And then the big name, Kimi Antonelli. He's in F2 this year, very much seen as Mercedes' next big thing. We've spoken about him a little bit on the channel before. If he has a good F2 year, if he can win the F2 championship as a rookie, why not put him in Mercedes? Why not pull like Red Bull did with Max Verstappen and go, here's this young kid, he's got talent, we think he's going to be a big deal, here you go, in the big team at a young age and see where he goes from there. Loads of possibilities going into who will be in that Mercedes seat in 2025. There's all sorts of stories going around at the minute. Apparently, I saw on Twitter before, someone said that Ted Kravitz had reported that Toto Wolff had phoned Alonso an hour after he found out that Hamilton was leaving. Then Ted Kravitz came out and said, I have not reported that. So who knows what's going on there. Another question mark around here, of course, is poor Carlos Sainz. Because Charles Leclerc has got a contract with Ferrari for the foreseeable future, Carlos Sainz has not and will not. So this is Carlos's last year with Ferrari as well. It's almost a bit reminiscent of how Carlos came in. When Ferrari let Vettel go and signed Carlos, that was quite early in the season. Not this early. I think we'd had a few races by the time that was announced, but still very early. Carlos going, I think Carlos will be fine. I don't see him going to the Mercedes seat, but he'll be picked up. I mean, he's the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race last year. I mean, it's incredible that he's the only driver to win in a Ferrari last year, and he's the one who got dropped. But it makes sense, I think, if one of the two of them was to go, it would be Carlos. Everyone's pointing him towards Sauber, or Stake F1 team Kick Sauber. And I think that is probably where he will go to have that connection with Audi. Him and Audi have been touted together for years now, so I wouldn't be surprised if that came together. Of course, his dad is associated with Audi as well, won the Dakar Rally with Audi a couple of weeks ago, so I think that's where he will go. Looking at Hamilton, though, for 2025, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc team pairing. I mean, Lewis has always had some very formidable teammates. Of course, Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button, Nico Rosberg, George Russell, Valtteri Bottas, and who can forget Heikki Kovalainen. But now team with Leclerc, I mean, wow, that's a strong pairing. That's up there, I think. You know, Alonso obviously was an incredible teammate, and Button and Rosberg, I think, are his stronger teammates, but I think Leclerc will be up there as well. Two qualifying specialists, I'd say the two best people in qualifying at the same team. That's going to be really fun. And you know, Ferrari and Leclerc have been associated now basically throughout Leclerc's life, very much like Lewis and Mercedes have. So how does that team play go? Because Ferrari famously are a team who like to favour one driver. We've seen that throughout the history of Ferrari. They'll have one guy and their other guy takes a little bit of a sideline. Now, in recent years, that hasn't so much been the case. And it looks like it won't be the case here with two top-level drivers within that team. I'd love to see how that one plays out. This is just loads of really exciting stuff going forward. Another thing I've been thinking about is when we saw Bottas leave Mercedes, he very much became a very different person. The Bottas that we have now is very different to the Bottas we had in Mercedes. And he's made comments before about how his kind of mental health went down when he was in Mercedes, very much being seconds to Hamilton, and how leaving allowed him to be more of himself, be a bit freer. Will we see a similar thing with Lewis? Now, of course, he's been allowed to do whatever he wants. Over his term in Mercedes, he's been winning all the championships. He's been quite free as it is. But is Mercedes as a more corporate team? Will we see a more relaxed and personable Lewis in a Ferrari? I think we will, and I think that'd be cool to see. And, those people who kind of don't like him and say he's more robot-like, I think maybe they might even come round on him too, because everyone loves Ferrari. Yes, as well, in the terms of Mercedes, this is bad for them, if you haven't realised already, but not in terms of just, who they're going to drive, but, the amount of money that Lewis Hamilton brings into that team. Lewis Hamilton's fan base is massive, and there's people within his fan base, a large section of his fan base, who adore him, and everything Mercedes bring out about Lewis, they buy. He has a different hat every week, and they buy all of them. The amount of money that Mercedes will be making per year due to their association with Lewis Hamilton will be in the millions, if not billions. They'll make loads of money from Hamilton, and that will now go. And there isn't a driver on the grid that I think could replicate that amount of money for Mercedes. So that's a huge down on them from there. So it's really, I'd like to see a video of Toto Wolff at the minute rather than a written statement, just to see how he is, because I imagine he's kind of pulling his hair out, because this has come as a huge, huge surprise. It's just massive. I never thought we'd see the day where Lewis Hamilton is driving for another team. But I think it just goes to show, again, Ferrari, the pull of Ferrari. Every top driver, pretty much in the history of Formula One, has driven for Ferrari at some point. The only one you can point out and say they didn't would be Senna. But, there was all the rumours that in 95, or was it? Yeah, 95, he was going to move to Ferrari. Unfortunately, he did pass away before that, but that was the rumours that he was going to go to Ferrari. So you could even say then, even he was going to go to Ferrari. Lewis has been the one that you thought, maybe he won't. But here we are. The next one will be Verstappen. Will Verstappen ever go to Ferrari? I'm just going to check now to see if Ferrari have released anything. So when I started recording, they hadn't. I'm going to do a quick check. So they have put out something. Just a quick thing on their Twitter. It just says, team statement, Scuderia Ferrari is pleased to announce that Lewis Hamilton will be joining the team in 2025 on a multi-year contract. There's no photo of him in a shirt or anything like that. It's just the logo. But my God, when we get that first picture of Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari overall, or when he's driving that car, that's going to just blow up the internet. I mean, this story's been blowing up the internet as it is. The fact that it is transfer deadline day here for football, and the biggest story in sport is Formula One, shows how big this is. I was trying to think before of a driver move that has been as big as this, and I couldn't really think of any. I mean, when Max went from Toro Rosso to Red Bull halfway through the season, that was big because it was halfway through the season, but everyone knew that Max would eventually get in the Red Bull. The closest I can think to it is when Vettel left Red Bull to go to Ferrari, and there is a lot of comparisons there, because, Vettel won 4 titles for Red Bull, Hamilton's won 6 titles for Mercedes, then Vettel had the season where he didn't win any races, got beaten by Ricciardo. Hamilton's had 2 seasons now of not winning any races, had the 1 season when he got beaten by Russell, and they decide, hey, why don't we give it a go? Why don't we go to La Ferrari? And, oh my God, this is huge. We haven't even had testing yet, and we've had Gunther Steiner leaving, Andretti rejected, and now this. This is like the biggest news story of the year, and we haven't even started the season. Let me know what you think of all of this. I'm sure this is a story that will rumble on throughout the season as we go. I think Mercedes and Lewis will be very formal to each other throughout the year. They'll be very nice to each other. I'm sure when we get to Abu Dhabi at the end of the year, they'll give him some kind of big present. They might even do a special livery on the car. I mean, they're 100% guaranteed to do a special livery on the car to commemorate him. But then when we go into next year, how is that going to play out? Imagine, if you will, in 2025, we have a situation where Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari and George Russell in a Mercedes have some kind of altercation. How is Toto Wolff going to talk about Lewis Hamilton then? That's a really interesting story going into next year. And also, I've just got to say, Frederick Vasseur is incredible. I've been saying this since he was signed. He is one of the best team principals on the grid. I think when you hear him talk and when you hear him discuss things, he's straight to the point and he gets his point across. He's really good there. He's done fantastic jobs in terms of strategy and pit stops and all that kind of stuff from a performance point of view of Ferrari. We'll see this year how his input on the car has delivered them. I mean, we saw last year, the end of last year, Ferrari were the second best car on the grid. That was under Vasseur's direction there. And now, to get Lewis Hamilton to leave Mercedes, that's Frederick Vasseur right there. Incredible stuff from an incredible team principal, and he needs his respect for doing that there. Wow. As I said, let me know what you think in the comments, because this is a madness. I'll be back tomorrow for 2 videos. Firstly, my best liveries for every current F1 team video. Secondly, it is the Haas reveal tomorrow, so we've got that to look forward to tomorrow. I'll be back on Saturday as well. If there's any more fallout from this, I'll be covering all that on Saturday. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.